When backing up and you're alluding to falling out of love, like with the sport, with the game and everything else, like what plays into that? Obviously you talked about your dad guilt, husband guilt earlier
Hmm.
on. Do you think about the wear and tear just with your age too? Like what are the things that goes on that kind of make you fall out of love with the sport?
I think it's just the time. It's just it's such a funny thing too, right? Well, football and just in sports in
Right.
general, every sport, like people will just crap on you, not realizing that you're a human being, not realizing the sacrifices that you make day in and day out. And you have the same doubts and fears and insecurities as everybody else, right? So we're human beings, but with me, I take it so seriously and I pour myself so fully into it that I become a different human being for a couple month period. And I love being that person. I love that God created me that way. And then I have also created myself into that type of man. But it takes a toll on you because you feel like you're missing out on life sometimes. And then when you bring children into it and a wife
Right.
and all these things, you feel like it's the constant tug and pull between doing what you need to do, but also doing what you want to do. And I feel like when you're constantly grinding, I mean, in a 25-month period, I had six training camps, 5 fights. Every single fight was do or die. Every single fight was huge. Every single fight was a main event or a co-main event, and you're fighting the toughest, scariest guys in the world. So you can become jaded by it because you look back and you think, man, it's been two years, and all I've done is pour myself into this. So it can just chip away at your passion for the sport, and just constantly being away from my family down in Florida. I love my team and I know it's the best team ever. And thank God I love my coaches. I love my training partners. I love our facility. But that 2 training camps ago, when I walked in there, I was like, man, here we go again. These 4 walls and these guys and this, and I got 4 hours of training today. And then I got to do it 6 days this week. And
Do you ever think too, I appreciate you sharing, do you ever think too, like, I don't want it as bad as I used to? And I asked that, and I'm not putting you in a spot
No,
to,
it's
like,
fine.
to you
It's a good
saying
question.
like, no, I don't want it. But even perspective for myself, like going through it, like when we were, it was like year 8, year 9, year 10, like having the fun with it that I was having, but just showing up into, again, those same 4 walls and just kind of knowing in the back of my mind, I really just don't want this as bad as my young self did. And I know sacrificing for this sport, sacrificing for like the character and the individual and the person that I wanted to create in this sport, you almost feel like you're doing yourself a disservice by feeling that way. I felt a little guilt when I would go about it like that, knowing that I was, I still like loved playing the game, but I didn't love it the same way. I didn't want to like grit my teeth. I didn't want to have to like make a 53-man roster, like throw myself at the bottom of a depth chart, try to become a starter.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of like lost that mentality, but at the same time, I was also able to relieve myself of all that expectation and pressure because I was getting these chances later in my career. And so I got to like just enjoy playing the game that I grew up loving versus all of that business on top of it. So that's kind of like why I was asking you, like you show up and you're like, do I really want this as like I used to?
Yeah. Well, and that's where, and I think for me now having the clarity of having a year away from it and enjoying things outside of just fighting, spending more time with friends and family and loved ones, but also still always staying in shape. Yeah, you can start to question it. Think like, man, well, when I was 25, I used to come into a training camp and be all pumped up, and I am pumped up still, like crazy good pumped up. At 38 years old, I leave for Florida today.
38, that's fucking crazy.
Yeah, don't tell anybody. But I feel like I'm 28. That's the thing. I definitely feel like I still have it. I definitely feel like I'm the best guy in the world. I definitely feel like I'm going to beat Charles Oliveira. Because this is a game of millimeters, man, and any of us can beat each other on any given night.
And you can't step in that octagon second guessing or half-assing anything because it's you versus somebody else in a fucking war.
Yeah, well, and that's the good thing that I always am able to rely upon is I know I do the right things. I leave no stone unturned. I flex my discipline muscle every single day, and I do things by the book and do it as perfectly as I possibly can. So I know when it's time to show up and start training camp, I know I'm going to show up. So there was moments where I questioned it and thought, man, you used to love this more than you did. But really, I think it was just the wear and tear of the nonstop, the mental wear and tear.
The thinking of stuff that's going on outside of the 4 walls.
Yeah. And just the nonstop like, man, I just need a break. I need a break. And then finally I was almost forced to get a break, which is really funny because Brian Smith, our head coach at Mizzou, tells a story about how I was one of the first guys that he finally had to actually pull out of practice and kick out of practice and say, no, you can't train today. We need you.
Because wrestling's.
Yeah. It was like, man, he would notice that my performances would suffer, but it was because I was overtraining, or I was going too hard, or I would show up and do extra things that I was not asked to do. But I'm like, hey coach, I was a walk-on kid. I'm still that walk-on kid. I have to do more, or else I'm not going to be able to beat these guys. I'm wrestling against Jordan Burroughs and Mike Poeta and Jordan Lee and these top guys. I have to do extra or else. And he's like, no, man, you're taking 2 days off this week. And I'm like, wait, so that everyone's going to be at practice and I'm not going to be at practice? And he's like, no, yes, you're going to be off Wednesday and Thursday because we need you to rest up. So it's kind of awesome how the sport pulled me out of it. The sport, Brian Smithed me, pulled me out to make me love the sport even more. And I've got a new lease on life and I have a new passion. So I'm excited to go into this training camp. As much as it sucks the first week where it's a new transition and you're missing the family. And I cried this morning, freaking dropping Hap off at school. It's just like, it's just a part of it all.
You were talking about like getting back into it. Was there like a moment where you started to gain more clarity in falling back in love with the sport? Like the process, was it the people you were around? Was it something maybe your wife said? Was it something that allowed you? It's like the Rocky 2 moment where they're having the baby. He's kind of half-ass training, but they have the baby and his wife looks at him. She's like, go do it. And then all of a sudden the Rocky montage goes off.
Yeah.
Was there like a moment for you of that clarity of like falling back in love with the grind and the sport?
I think it was just when I got back to this last training camp that ended in not the reward. I did all the work but didn't get the reward. Yet I still look back and think, man, every single day I couldn't wait to wake up. I was getting to practice an hour early to just work on little things or just to be there and watch other guys. It's like, it's funny how as a 38-year-old veteran and team captain down in Florida, I'm the guy who's looked at as I'm the highest ranked guy, the biggest name on our team roster, right? So I'm looked at like that guy. So the last couple training camps, it was just like, hey, everybody looked at me that way, but I didn't look at other guys that way, and excited about watching this 22-year-old kid chasing his dream and watching this 25-year-old kid fighting for the title in this other organization and this. So I was just so focused on myself because I had to go do it. But then this last training camp, I found myself getting to practice early, watching the younger guys, helping out the younger guys, being a part of
feeling that hunger.
Yeah, being a part of more, and like thinking, man, I lost a little bit of the passion for all of that and the love of the sport. And then just pouring into people more too. Zig Ziglar says you can have everything you want in life if you help enough other people get what they want in life. So I was of service more this last training camp, and I'm excited to go down there and do that this week and then get back to it and be the guy there and continue to show the young guys that, hey, yes, I have accomplished more than maybe you'll ever accomplish in your entire career, but it still always goes back to the hard work and the discipline and doing things right and showing up early and doing more than was asked of you and being of service. So I think it was just this last training camp, the entire process, every single day, working out 3 times a day and working on things more, watching more film and fully immersing myself in it and doing the media and, having time to still FaceTime the family and doing stuff. So,
well, you were also flying, you guys were flying out there too. Like one thing that you were doing in the last training camp, not to flex, but also flex, is flying private. So that way you gain those hours and time with the family when you were present with them.
47 extra waking hours I got last camp with my family. So almost 2 full days with my family to get there, a couple extra hours home on Friday and be able to leave a couple extra hours late on Sunday. And just because those are times you can't ever get back, man. And it's a weird tug and pull of, if I can do it, I want to do it. If I can make it happen, I want to make it happen, because I know that I will perform better if I know I did as much as I possibly could as
fill that
a
bucket
fighter.
up with the family.
Yeah. I know I will perform better. And it's almost just like, okay, all I got to do, Monday morning, I wake up, I hit the ground running, go hard Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. By Thursday, I'm excited that I get to one more practice, train really hard, get home, see the family, maybe do one session on the weekends or a recovery session. But yeah, not the flex, but the flex. That was a good situation.
We got the PJ a couple weeks ago with the Nebraska.
I tell you what, dude,
was awesome.
It's a time machine, man. And it's time in this season of my life. It's time that I won't ever be able to get back. And it made me love the sport even more. So this camp will be no different.